Hi, I'm Brendan Hemingway, a founder at Pythia Cyber, and I'm here with my colleague Ted Hayes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ted Hayes. I'm a co-founder of Pythia Cyber, and very glad that you're here with us for this video. We're going to talk about systems administration and cybersecurity. So, Brendan, you're an experienced systems administrator and someone who has dealt a lot with everything from systems down in the cube farm to out in the field to up in the C-suite. Uh, so you've seen quite a range of systems outputs, haven't you?
I have, I have, as part of what the NIST CSF describes as detect, the phase where you actually check to see that your protections are working of the things that you care about. So yes, I've spent at this point a frighteningly large amount of my life looking at logs to see if what's in them should make me happy or sad.
So just to level set a little bit, what is a good description of a log? What's in a log and how frequently is it updated?
Well, there at the grossest level, there are two kinds of things in a log. There are milestones, so that you know that the thing being logged is alive and that it's doing things, and it puts out time dates. People very cleverly put in things that often say, "I'm alive" or "I'm doing this," and then there are more sort of journal entry things, and those, alas, break down even more. And there are notifications, which are exactly what they sound like ways for software to tell you what they're doing and when, such as, web server shutting down, web server starting up. And then there are warnings, which, if done properly, though lots of people abuse the concept, are notifications of things that aren't currently going to disrupt operations, but might lead to problems in the future or might indicate that something's going wrong. And you can ignore warnings, as we say, but you doing that at your peril. And finally, there are errors, which are things that are bad happening right now. And unfortunately, here in the 21st century, we've introduced the concept of non-fatal error because our systems are more resilient and they can often handle problems which used to be fatal. But I have to point out that our system's ability to handle these errors is imperfect. So relying on your system to make a non-fatal error, make it a fatal error non-fatal is not a great idea. So anyway, it's a long way of saying I spend my day looking at things that are notifications, warnings, errors, and hopefully very few fatal errors.
So how do you distinguish between, let's go down to the end of the continuum there, warnings versus errors? Because I think a lot of us have had the experience of a dashboard like going on your vehicle or some sort of notification that you need a software upgrade. And you think, oh, okay, I'll get to that. But is that comparable? Is there a way to tell whether a warning is really a bad sign, like an error, or is that just something you have to learn over time?
Well, this is one of the reasons we have such a big behavioral component at Pythia Cyber. Much of that is a judgment call. I had an experience today, in fact, where I was slogging through a log and I was quite irritated to discover a bazillion uh, errors, which would have been fatal, but the environment managed to work around them. And just for the geeks amongst us, in this case, it was a warning that some software was referring to an object before creating it, which used to blow software out of the water, but now a lot of interpreted environments can say, I wish you hadn't done that. Does that make it okay? No. Does that fix the logic problem that caused that? No. It does mean, however, that your application can stagger along. But from my perspective, since I don't have responsibility for that application, this was just noise to me. As we engineers talk about the signal to noise ratio, which is how easy it is to pick out the actual information from background noise. So for me, this is massive background noise. It's thousands of entries, in a log that I have to scroll through screenful after screenful. And then I stop paying attention to them. It makes it much harder for me to make sure that there's nothing bad going on. So I contacted the programmer responsible for that, and I said to her, you have a problem in the log. And I showed a log entry. She sent me email back saying, yes, I was using that software at that time, so this was a result of something I did, but the software returned an acceptable result. And I said, I'd love it if you fixed it anyway. And she said, well, but everything's working, so do I have to? And this is an example of the subjective nature of errors. I would say that she's treating it like a warning, just something that you need to know about, but it's not immediate. I would like that to be fixed as soon as possible because it's impacting and making my dull morning just a little duller to have to scroll through that. But alas, we don't have an international standard of severity. And I say, I think this is really important. She says, I don't. And there you have it. Is it a warning? Is it an error? Depends who you ask.
Right. And but when we think of this from a cybersecurity perspective, where those warnings can be dire, not just because of the nature of the warning, but also because of the nature of the implications of the warning, it seems like this would be something that you'd want to pay attention to right away. So, where do you see the point at which you want to monitor this from a cybersecurity perspective as opposed to an operational perspective?
Well, from a perspective, if you're doing the detect phase, you would want to fix this immediately. You're wasting my time, but more than that, you're crippling my effectiveness because I can't, as a human being, look at hundreds of things that are all the same without starting to lose focus. And that has two problems. One of them is immediate. It makes it harder for me to look for things that are bad that I know I should be looking for. One of them is long term. It means that if something goes wrong with this system and I need to use that log for debugging, I'm going to have to shovel a lot of manure to get to the things I want. And there is a whole science of filtering logs, of trying to assign levels of importance to them. And as a gray-haired cynic, I will tell you that that works great until it works really badly. And the short form is it works terrifically as long as your assumptions that the things you're ignoring need to be ignored is true. The moment one of the things you're ignoring needs to be paid attention to, your filtering has made you blind, and you are never going to see the thing you're looking for because you've purposely suppressed it. So, from an operations standpoint, she's absolutely right. She's busy a few thousand more bytes in a log because a web app she doesn't use that often loses its mind occasionally. So what? But it's clear to me that she doesn't have any investiture in the cybersecurity posture of her organization because if she even looked at the logs occasionally, like we recommend that people, look the next day, look through the logs to see what happened the day before. On a normal day, it looked fine. Was it fine? She would have said to herself, man, this is irritating as all this crap scrolled by. So I would say that yes, if you're grading her as an operations person, she probably has better things to do with her time, at least in the short term. But from a cybersecurity standpoint, this is a wasted opportunity to clean things up and make the process of watching the system easier, faster, better, more effective.
So you mentioned behavior, and that's something we talk about at Pythia with some frequency. From the example that you gave, I'm just going to suppose this programmer you're talking about is a highly effective, intelligent, experienced individual, but the strategy of the organization that you're referring to was such that she did not prioritize, because it wasn't part of the organization's strategy, a cybersecurity perspective. She looked at it more from a programming operations perspective. Is that approximately right?
Yes, I mean, this individual, actually, I know to be a diligent and competent programmer. She's good at her job. But the trouble is, and this is one of the reasons that Pythia recruited you, is that it's her behavior, it's her attitude that's different. And as a fellow technologist, I'm not in a position to say to her, I find your lack of faith disturbing. I could just creep her out though, right? So that's one of the things we're talking about in one of our engagements. To fix this problem, I have two bad solutions currently because they're not a Pythia customer. They're an IT customer. I can
Mhm.
do the work for her, taking responsibility for a system I don't have any reason to take responsibility for, which is not a great idea. Or I can shrug and say, well, the next time I need to, every morning from now on until I can't stand it anymore and I start filtering them out, I'm going to see this stuff and it's going to make me worse at detecting problems. But what I would have preferred to do, and which is why we work on this at Pythia, I would have preferred to be able to say, this is a cultural issue, and weird as it is for a cybersecurity person to say this is an attitude problem, to have it's an attitude to say, well, it's an attitude problem because I don't see there's no technological solution that changes people's priorities.
Well, that's right. And I'd like the viewers of this video to weigh in on this. Send us your thoughts at pythiacyber.com. Let us know what you think. How would you have approached this issue as someone reviewing those logs, or someone doing the programming, or someone like me who talks about the behavioral aspects? Really like to hear what you'd think. So please send us an email. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to catch you in another video.
Bye bye.